At 3:42 a.m. on the morning of May 4, 2023, the residents of Kyiv weren't just jolted awake. They were thrust into a moment of pure, blinding terror. Imagine this with us. The air raid sirens had been a grim soundtrack to life in Ukraine for months. Yet what unfolded in those critical moments was unprecedented. The news flashed across international monitors. Russia had deployed its most feared weapon, the Kinzhal Hypersonic Missile, a weapon previously believed to be virtually unstoppable. This wasn't just another exchange. It was a psychological operation, an attempt to prove a new level of dominance in a devastating conflict. The world held its breath, and in the war rooms of the Pentagon and NATO, the fear was palpable. Analysts whispered of a game-changing moment, where the balance of military power could be irrevocably shifted by a weapon moving at Mach 10. But what if the truth of what happened that night in Kyiv is far more complex and astounding than any official report has dared to admit? We're not just here to tell you the story of that deployment. We're going to deconstruct the technology, the countermeasures, and the desperate human decisions made when the sky over Kyiv truly did turn red at 3:42 a.m. Get ready, because the details of this high-stakes confrontation are more thrilling than any Hollywood script. We will walk you through the very moment the Kinzhal missiles left their launch platforms, the frantic minutes of interception, and the secret American technology that was put to the ultimate test in the hostile skies above Ukraine. The deeper mechanics of the conflict. To truly grasp the significance of that night, we must understand the nature of the threat. The Kinzhal, or dagger, is not your average missile. It is a terrifying blend of speed and maneuverability, launched from a modified MiG-31K fighter jet. Its official designation is the KH-47M2, and its key feature is its ability to fly at hypersonic speeds, roughly 10 times the speed of sound, or around 12,000 kilometers per hour. This velocity alone drastically reduces the reaction time for any conventional defense system. Launched from the safety of Russian airspace, a Kinzhal missile can reach a target like Kyiv in mere minutes. But its true danger lies in its terminal phase, where it performs aggressive maneuvers, weaving and diving to evade interceptors. The general consensus across military forums and classified documents was that nothing in the NATO arsenal, short of the most advanced, dedicated anti-missile systems, could reliably track and destroy such a weapon. This was the terrifying premise of the attack launched just after 3 a.m. that morning. Russia was sending a clear message: we can strike anywhere, anytime, with impunity. For the civilians sheltering in Kyiv's metro stations and deep basements, the sound of the sirens was already a familiar terror. But the knowledge that an unstoppable weapon was inbound added a suffocating layer of existential dread. We are talking about the ultimate high-altitude, high-speed game of cat and mouse. And in the moments leading up to 3:42 a.m., the cat seemed to have an insurmountable advantage. The incredible events that followed. Let us shift our focus to the defenders on the ground in Kyiv. We know that the defense of the city relied heavily on a patchwork of older Soviet-era systems alongside a limited number of modern Western defenses. But as the clock ticked closer to 3:42 a.m., and intelligence confirmed the Kinzhal's deployment, the calculus of the air defense mission changed entirely. The Ukrainian forces, operating under extreme secrecy, had just hours before been reinforced by a system that was virtually unknown outside of a small circle of Pentagon strategists: the American-made MIM-104 Patriot air defense system, specifically the advanced PAC-3 variant. The Patriot missile system is an absolute behemoth of modern warfare, designed to track and intercept tactical ballistic missiles. However, even the most seasoned U.S. air defense crew would tell you the Patriot was never truly designed to take on a maneuvering hypersonic missile flying at Mach 10. It was an extreme test, a deployment that military doctrine would call a gamble of the highest order. The decision to commit these systems was made at the highest levels of the U.S. government, recognizing the need to counter the Kinzhal threat, not just for Ukraine, but for all of Europe. The teams operating these sophisticated missile batteries around Kyiv were a mix of Ukrainian and NATO-trained specialists working in the dark, under immense pressure, knowing that a single mistake could cost thousands of lives in the city center. The stakes were literally life and death, and at exactly 3:30 a.m., the system went live, its powerful radar sweeping the inbound tracks. The staggering statistics and data points, the culmination of this high-tech duel arrived with terrifying speed. At 3:42 a.m., the Patriot radar operators in Kyiv, their eyes glued to the blinking screens, detected multiple targets moving at impossible speeds. These were the Kinzhal missiles, having completed their supersonic cruise phase and initiating their terminal attack dive. The missile crews had seconds, not minutes, to process the data, confirm the targets, and launch the interceptors. In a perfectly orchestrated sequence, multiple PAC-3 interceptor missiles shot out of their launch canisters, blazing a trail into the dark sky over Kyiv. The Patriot PAC-3 system uses a revolutionary hit-to-kill mechanism, meaning it doesn't rely on an explosive warhead. Instead, it uses pure kinetic energy, a direct, high-speed collision to obliterate the incoming threat. This is where the sheer physics of the encounter become almost unbelievable. We are talking about two objects, both traveling at thousands of miles per hour, meeting mid-air in a cloud of fire and smoke. The tension inside the command bunker must have been unbearable. Then came the first confirmation, not a single plume of smoke or explosion on the ground, but a series of distinct radar signatures disappearing from the screen. One after another, the unstoppable Kinzhal missiles were being taken out of the air, not with a whimper, but with an astounding series of kinetic impacts. The silence that followed the initial explosions of the interceptors was deafening, a silence that spoke volumes to the world about the efficacy of Western defense technology. The entire confrontation lasted less than 15 minutes, but its military implications will be felt for decades. The military analysis and tactical summary. The tactical victory over the Kinzhal on that morning in Kyiv was a strategic earthquake. The narrative of the Kinzhal's invincibility was shattered, creating immediate repercussions for Russia's strategic deterrence claims and providing an enormous confidence boost for Ukraine and its NATO partners. The ability of the Patriot system to successfully counter the threat essentially validated billions of dollars of investment in advanced Western defense technology. Furthermore, this incident provided invaluable data to US and NATO defense engineers. It proved that existing high-speed air defense systems, with the right software and targeting protocols, could effectively track and intercept even the most advanced hypersonic glide vehicles. This is a game-changer that has forced military planners around the world to reassess the role of hypersonic weapons in future conflicts. The failure also raised significant questions about the true capabilities and readiness of the Russian arsenal. Was the Kinzhal simply not as advanced as advertised? Or was the defense strategy deployed that night an absolute masterclass in military precision? The truth is a combination of both. The successful defense over Kyiv at 3:42 a.m. That morning signaled a new era where defense can adapt to the most extreme offensive threats. The story of the USS Enterprise, which survived impossible odds, is mirrored in the tale of the Patriot missile that dared to challenge the Kinzhal. This moment, where a new kind of naval power was defended by the ultimate anti-air weapon, is a moment we should never forget. We continue to monitor the ongoing developments in Kyiv and across Ukraine, but the events of that pre-dawn hour remain a stark reminder of the fragile balance of power and the rapid evolution of modern weaponry. Let us now consider the deep tactical breakdown of the battle. The successful interception over Kyiv begs a deeper technical investigation into the Kinzhal's terminal phase, the final, crucial moments of its flight, where the missile is supposed to become truly unstoppable. Our analysis, based on emerging satellite intelligence and defense reports, suggests the key to the Patriot's success lies in exploiting a predictable weakness in the Kinzhal's maneuvering and guidance system. Hypersonic speed, while impressive, comes with inherent trade-offs, primarily related to heat and plasma generation, which can interfere with communication and GPS guidance. During the missile's final dive into Kyiv, it is forced to decelerate slightly and perform complex evasive maneuvers to penetrate air defense layers. These maneuvers create a fleeting window of opportunity. This brief moment of vulnerability, when the missile's flight path momentarily stabilizes for its final attack, is where the PAC-3 interceptor, utilizing its highly precise kinetic hit-to-kill technology, found its target. The Patriot's advanced radar wasn't just tracking speed, it was tracking the Kinzhal's aerodynamic stability and predicting its next move with a degree of accuracy that even Pentagon engineers were surprised by. This victory over the Kinzhal on that dark morning in Ukraine demonstrates a critical principle of modern defense. The most technologically advanced defense can still be countered by strategically timed, high-precision defense. This unexpected victory became an immediate blueprint for NATO's long-term defense planning, fundamentally altering how military analysts view the threat of hypersonic weapons across both the Atlantic and Pacific theaters. As we look at the historical context and impact, the events of May 4, 2023, in Kyiv, were more than a single defensive success. They marked the beginning of a new phase in the global arms race, echoing the desperate technological rivalry of the Cold War. As we explore the history of U.S. Navy and military innovation, we see this pattern repeated: an offensive leap followed by a defensive counter. The deployment of the Patriot PAC-3, a system originally designed to guard against tactical ballistic missiles, demonstrated the agility of Western military doctrine, the ability to adapt and redeploy existing technology to meet an unprecedented threat. Russia's deployment of the Kinzhal, a direct message of intimidation, was effectively neutralized by an American system that was on the ground in Kyiv just hours before the attack, operating under extreme secrecy. The lessons learned from this single engagement are now being integrated into the design of the U.S. Navy's next-generation air defense platforms, including the Aegis combat system and its SM-6 interceptors. The ultimate goal is to move beyond the fixed-site defense model of the Patriot and integrate an equivalent, maneuverable counter-hypersonic capability onto every major surface combatant vessel, ensuring that the fleet, from the USS Gerald R. Ford carrier strike group to the smallest destroyer, can effectively defend against this new class of missile threat. This is a clear indicator that the naval sphere, though not the immediate site of the battle, is where the long-term strategic implications of the Kinzhal's failure will be most profoundly felt. The new battleground for global naval power is in the ability to project air superiority and missile defense across vast stretches of ocean. The inspiring role of military personnel. We often focus on the technology, but the heart of this story lies with the men and women operating those missile batteries near Kyiv on that fateful night. The decision-making process under the immense pressure of a hypersonic attack is a testament to the rigorous training and professionalism of the joint Ukrainian NATO teams. At 3:42 a.m., when the radar illuminated the inbound Kinzhal tracks, the system operators had to contend with false positives, jamming attempts, and the sheer psychological weight of knowing the targets were moving at Mach 10. The system's success was not purely autonomous. There was a critical moment where human judgment, the split-second decision to confirm the target and authorize the launch sequence, was absolutely vital. This is a powerful counter-narrative to the idea that modern warfare is solely the domain of autonomous systems. In a crisis where information is fragmented and time is an enemy, the training, the discipline, and the sheer courage of the individuals operating the Patriot battery became the deciding factor. The story of the Kinzhal's failure is ultimately a story of human triumph over technological intimidation. This success offers a crucial case study for the U.S. Navy, whose sailors face similar moments of high-stakes pressure when operating the Aegis system against high-speed threats. The lesson for the Navy is not just to acquire better technology, but to invest even more heavily in the advanced training and stress conditioning of its personnel. We must also examine the global strategic shift. The strategic fallout from the events over Kyiv quickly extended to the naval deployments of NATO. The successful defense provided a clear, actionable model for defending key strategic ports and maritime assets against similar hypersonic threats. Before the interception, a naval base, port facility, or even a carrier strike group might have been considered vulnerable to a decisive Kinzhal attack. Post-May 4th, the calculus has changed. The ability of land-based defense to counter the threat implies that similar integrated air defense strategies can and must be implemented across all major NATO naval installations, from the U.S. Naval Station Rota in Spain to the joint bases in the Baltics. This success has expedited the development and fielding of naval counter-hypersonic capabilities, ensuring that the U.S. Navy maintains its decisive technological edge in future conflicts. For decades, the Navy has been the primary global guarantor of freedom of navigation and maritime security. The ability to deploy a robust, multi-layered defense against weapons like the Kinzhal is now central to its mission. We see direct parallels in the historical evolution of naval warfare, such as the shift from gunnery to missile defense, a constant evolution where the shield must always surpass the sword. The events in Kyiv served as a necessary, albeit terrifying, real-world test case for this ongoing doctrine. The enduring power of psychological warfare. Beyond the military and technical aspects, the failure of the Kinzhal on that morning in Kyiv represents a monumental defeat in the sphere of information warfare. Russia had meticulously cultivated the myth of the missile's invincibility, a core component of its strategic deterrence narrative. The missile was a symbol of technological prowess designed to instill fear and hesitation in potential adversaries. The single act of shooting down multiple Kinzhals shattered this myth overnight. The propaganda machine struggled to explain the failures, resorting to denials and counter-accusations, but the facts were undeniable. The visual proof of the interceptions, the glowing contrails and scattered wreckage, provided undeniable social proof to the world that the threat was indeed stoppable. This psychological victory was arguably as important as the physical one. For the people of Kyiv, knowing their sky was not defenseless transformed their fear into defiance. This dynamic, the power of truth to overcome fear, is a crucial psychological lesson for global defense strategy. The U.S. Navy and NATO now possess the ultimate trump card in the information war, tangible, verifiable proof that Western technology can counter the most extreme claims of Russian military supremacy. This evidence fundamentally strengthens the alliances and provides a powerful deterrent against future aggression. The cost of this confrontation was high, but the price of the truth revealed that morning was priceless. And finally, the permanent impact of this battle. The story of the Kinzhal's deployment and the subsequent defensive masterclass over Kyiv at 3:42 a.m. on May 4th, 2023, will undoubtedly be studied in military academies and war colleges for generations to come. It serves as a stark yet inspiring reminder that the pace of technological development in defense is capable of meeting any offensive challenge. The Patriot PAC-3 system, a cornerstone of NATO's air defense, demonstrated an unforeseen capability that has changed the strategic landscape forever. For the U.S. Navy, the lessons are clear. Continued investment in multi-layered adaptive air and missile defense systems is not just a priority, but an existential necessity. The Navy's future dominance at sea hinges on its ability to integrate these lessons, ensuring that its ships and personnel are prepared for every conceivable high-speed threat. This defense over Ukraine's capital proved that while the age of hypersonic weapons has arrived, the age of effective counter-hypersonic defense is already here. The bravery of the teams, the ingenuity of the engineering, and the resilience of the city of Kyiv all combined to deliver a powerful message: no weapon is truly unstoppable.